Hey, what's up? This is Mr. Josh, bringing you another science experiment. Today, we are going to attempt to answer the question, can you see DNA without a microscope? Now, a microscope is a scientific instrument that allows us to see things that are super tiny that we normally can't see with just our eyes. And DNA is something that is in any cell in any living thing. So today what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can observe DNA from a banana without using a microscope. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, with any experiment, we're going to need a couple of items, and today is no different. So what do we need? Well, let's go ahead and start off with some rubbing alcohol. We need a half ripe banana that has been peeled. We need a quart-size zip-top bag. We need a teaspoon of salt. We need a half of cup of hot water. We need a small bowl. We need a craft stick. We need a half teaspoon of dish soap. We need a coffee filter. We need a narrow glass cup, and we need some masking tape. As with any experiment, we need to first look at what we already know. So what do we know? Well, we know that all living things have DNA. We also know that DNA in cells is very small. If we are to do any science experiment, the first thing we need to do is ask a question. So today, our question is, can we see DNA without a microscope? Remember, a microscope is a scientific tool used to see really small things. So, our question, can we see DNA without a microscope? That is what we are looking to answer. Okay, now that we have asked our question, we need to make a guess or a hypothesis. Now, our guess or hypothesis is what we base our science experiment on. This is what makes science experiments. We have to have a guess. What do we think? Now, our guess, our hypothesis, can be wrong, and that is acceptable. That is part of science. So today, let's go ahead and make our guess. What do you think? Do you think we can see DNA without a microscope? Or do you think we cannot see DNA without a microscope? Go ahead, make your guess. Okay, for this experiment, we need to first read through our steps so we know what we are going to do. This way we can kind of plan in advance, especially with our materials. Let's go ahead and read through our steps before we actually perform our experiment. Step 1, put rubbing alcohol into the freezer. Step 2, put banana into zip-top bag and close the bag. Step 3, Mash the banana in the bag until all the lumps are gone. It's going to look like pudding. Step 4. Put salt and hot water into the bowl. Stir until dissolved. Step 5. Carefully pour salt water into the bag. Step 6. Close the bag and squeeze gently to mix the salt water and banana together. About 45 seconds is good. Step 7. Put the dish soap into the bag and mix gently. Step 8. Place the bottom of a coffee filter into the glass cup. Secure to the cup with tape. Now, when you look at the video, you can see that I used a rubber band instead of tape. Step 9. Carefully pour the banana mixture from the bag into the filter. Now, it may take a little bit of time. I had more banana mixture than would fit into the filter, so I had to let it drain for just a little bit until I could put the remainder in. Step 10. Let the banana mixture sit for several minutes until all of the liquid has dripped into the glass cup. Step 11. Remove the filter and throw it away. If you have used a rubber band, be careful. When I did it, I made a big, huge mess. And you can see what that mess looks like at the end of this video. Step 12. Tilt the glass and slowly pour the cold alcohol down the side into the cup until there is a layer that is 1 to 1.5 inches thick. Step 13. Let the mixture sit at least 8 minutes. You can sit and watch. It does not happen very quickly, but you will know when it is complete. Step 14. Watch for bubbles and clumps to form between the banana layer and the alcohol layer. The clumps are DNA. Step 15. Reach into the cup with the craft stick. Lift out the DNA. That's right. You can see DNA. Now that is super cool. Did you see that DNA? Kind of looked like a worm shriveling up. Now, of course, I did a time lapse of the video, or I sped up the video. It did not happen that quickly. Let's go ahead and organize our data. Part of science is collecting this information, this data. And today we need to collect some data. So, what kind of data do we need to collect today? Well, can we see DNA without a microscope? What do you think? We can see DNA without a microscope, or we cannot see DNA without a microscope? Were you able to see the DNA? It came out as a big, huge clump, didn't it? So yes, we were able to see the DNA without a microscope. Okay, so the final step of all science experiments is to find the conclusion. What did we learn? So let's look at our questions. Can you see DNA without a microscope? Yes or no? Well, you can't see all DNA without a microscope, but banana DNA, utilizing this experiment, you can see without a microscope. So go ahead, circle yes. Now, look back at your hypothesis. You made that guess. Was your guess correct now that you've performed that experiment? Yes or no? Remember, it doesn't matter if your guess was correct or not. The idea behind our science experiment is to learn and observe using our eyes. So, why were we able to see the DNA of a banana without a microscope? Oh, mashing the banana with salt water and adding dish soap helps to break apart these cells of the banana. This allows the DNA to be released. The salt and alcohol help to separate the DNA from other material in the cell and to get the DNA strands to stick together. When the strands stick together, they form bigger clumps of DNA that you can end up seeing without a microscope. So that is totally cool. All right, I hope you enjoyed this experiment. I enjoyed performing this experiment. Now, I want y'all to be safe, have fun, and keep on enjoying science. Again, this is Mr. Josh. Thank you, and I'll see you later.